Christmas Ghost Stories in Ireland. Christmas in Ireland is a time of joy, tradition and togetherness, but it's also a season steeped in mystery and the supernatural. Beneath the festive lights and frosty landscapes lie tales of spirits that return during the holidays, their stories woven into the fabric of Irish folklore. From tragic apparitions to ghostly echoes of past celebrations, these Christmas ghost stories reveal a darker, haunting side to the season. Prepare to journey through Ireland's chilling Yuletide legends, where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin, and the past lingers in every icy whisper. The Phantom Choir of St. Nicholas Church. In the heart of Galway city stands St. Nicholas Collegiate Church, a medieval structure steeped in history. Known for its festive Christmas Eve services, the church is a beloved landmark. But behind its beautiful facade and centuries-old traditions lies a chilling tale of spectral singers who appear when the midnight bell tolls. The legend begins in the late 18th century, when the church choir was renowned for its Christmas Eve performances. One year, a devastating blizzard swept through Galway, trapping villagers in their homes. Despite the storm, a small group of choir members braved the snow to rehearse for the midnight service, determined to uphold the tradition. Tragically, their journey ended in disaster. Caught in the icy winds near Lough Corrib, the group succumbed to the freezing cold, their bodies discovered days later by grieving townsfolk. In the years following the tragedy, strange events began to occur at St. Nicholas's Church during Christmas time. Parishioners reported hearing faint singing echoing through the nave, even when the church was empty. The songs were always the same, traditional Christmas carols in voices so beautiful and sorrowful that they brought listeners to tears. Some claimed the voices seemed to come from the gallery where the choir once sang, though no one could ever find their source. One Christmas Eve in the 1930s, a priest preparing for the midnight service experienced the ghostly choir firsthand. As he arranged candles on the altar, he heard a soft melody drift through the church. At first, he assumed the choir had arrived early, but as he moved toward the sound, he found the gallery empty. The singing grew louder, filling the church with harmonies so ethereal that he fell to his knees, overwhelmed by a mix of awe and fear. The music ceased as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the church in silence. More recently, visitors to St. Nicholas Church have reported similar experiences. A tourist attending a Christmas Eve service in the early 2000s described hearing a haunting rendition of O Holy Night that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. When she asked the congregation about the performance afterward, they insisted no choir had sung that carol during the service. Paranormal investigators have attempted to capture evidence of the Phantom Choir, setting up recording equipment during Christmas Eve services. While no visual apparitions have been documented, several audio recordings contain faint, unexplainable singing, including harmonies not performed by the live choir. Locals believe the ghostly singers are the spirits of the lost choir members, returning each Christmas Eve to perform the carols they never had the chance to sing. For believers, their presence is bittersweet, a reminder of lives cut short, but also of the enduring power of music and tradition. For skeptics, the phenomenon is merely the product of an old church's acoustics and the imagination of those seeking a Christmas miracle. Today, St. Nicholas Church remains a hub of festive activity during the holidays, with its Christmas Eve service drawing visitors from near and far. Many come for the music, hoping to hear not just the earthly choir, but also the ethereal voices of the phantom singers. Whether the stories are true or simply a reflection of Galway's rich oral tradition, one thing is certain. The songs of St. Nicholas Phantom Choir continue to echo through the centuries, touching the hearts of those who listen. The Christmas apparition of Duckett's Grove. Duckett's Grove, a sprawling 19th century mansion in County Carlow, stands as a hauntingly beautiful ruin. Its Gothic towers and ivy-covered walls have long been a source of fascination for locals and visitors alike, but during the Christmas season, the mansion's eerie charm is heightened by tales of a spectral figure said to appear on frosty December nights. The legend revolves around Emily Duckett, the youngest daughter of the Duckett family who once owned the estate. Emily was known for her kind heart and her love of Christmas. Every year, she organised lavish celebrations at Duckett's Grove, decorating the halls with holly and ivy and ensuring that no villager went without a warm meal. However, tragedy struck one Christmas Eve when Emily went riding through the estate's grounds to deliver gifts to a nearby village. A sudden snowstorm swept through Carlow, and Emily's horse slipped on the icy path. She was thrown from the saddle and died instantly. Her death cast a shadow over Duckett's Grove, and the family abandoned their Christmas traditions, leaving the mansion to grow cold and silent during the festive season. But soon after Emily's death, strange occurrences began to be reported. On Christmas Eve, locals passing by the estate claimed to see a glowing figure on horseback, riding through the snow-covered grounds. Others reported hearing the faint sound of hooves echoing through the frosty air, though no horse could be seen. One of the most chilling encounters occurred in the early 20th century, when a caretaker living on the property claimed to see a woman dressed in a flowing white gown, riding a spectral horse near the ruins of the stables. As he watched, the figure paused, turning her gaze toward him with an expression of deep sadness before vanishing into the night. In recent years, Duckett's Grove has become a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts, particularly during the Christmas season. Visitors exploring the ruins often report feeling an unexplainable chill, even when bundled against the cold. Some have captured photographs of mysterious orbs and faint, glowing outlines resembling a rider and her horse. One paranormal investigator, using thermal imaging, recorded what appeared to be the outline of a horse and rider near the estate's entrance gate. Locals believe that Emily's spirit returns every Christmas Eve to complete her final act of kindness, delivering gifts to those in need. Some even leave small O-rings, such as candles or wreaths, near the mansion's gates as a tribute to her memory. Others claim that Emily's presence is a gentle one, her spirit watching over the estate and its visitors with the same warmth and care she showed in life. For skeptics, the ghostly rider is nothing more than an illusion created by the interplay of light and shadow on a cold, snowy night. But for believers, Emily's apparition is a poignant reminder of the enduring power of love and generosity, even in the face of tragedy. Today, Duckett's Grove stands as a silent witness to its storied past, its crumbling walls and empty halls echoing with the whispers of Christmases long gone. Whether or not the ghostly rider truly haunts the estate, one thing is certain: her story continues to captivate all who visit this hauntingly beautiful ruin during the festive season. The Ghostly Piper of Killarney's Muckross Abbey. Muckross Abbey, located in the heart of Killarney National Park, is a serene and hauntingly beautiful ruin steeped in history. Founded in the 15th century, the abbey has seen centuries of monks, pilgrims, and tragic events. But it is during Christmas Eve, when the world is quiet and frost clings to the ancient stones, that the eerie sound of a ghostly piper fills the air. The story dates back to the late 17th century, a time of upheaval in Ireland. Legend has it that a young monk named Seamus, known for his musical talent, was a part of the abbey's community. Seamus played the Willen pipes, his melodies so enchanting they often brought both monks and villagers to tears. It was tradition for Seamus to play a Christmas hymn on his pipes every Christmas Eve, a ritual that symbolised hope and peace. But one fateful Christmas Eve, tragedy struck. The abbey had been under scrutiny from soldiers loyal to the crown, who viewed the monks as potential rebels. As Seamus played his hymn in the abbey's courtyard that frosty night, soldiers stormed the grounds, accusing the monks of harbouring fugitives. In the chaos, Seamus tried to protect his brethren, using his music to distract the soldiers. His hauntingly beautiful melody echoed through the abbey as he led them away from the hiding monks. Tragically, Seamus was captured and executed under the ancient yew tree in the abbey's centre, his pipes falling silent forever. Or so it seemed. In the years following Seamus's death, the sound of Willen pipes began to echo through Muckross Abbey on Christmas Eve. Visitors claimed to hear a single haunting melody, slow and sorrowful, drifting through the ruins. The sound seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, fading as quickly as it began. Locals believe it is Seamus's spirit, returning each Christmas Eve to play the hymn he never finished. One chilling account comes from a local historian named Declan, who visited the abbey late on Christmas Eve to document its architecture. As he stood near the yew tree, the air grew colder and a soft melody began to play. Declan described the music as both beautiful and deeply unsettling, filled with a sorrow that seemed to pierce the soul. He followed the sound to the abbey's nave, where it abruptly stopped. Declan later discovered frost-covered footprints near the altar, though no one else had been there. Another encounter occurred in the 1990s when a family visiting Killarney for the holidays decided to take a Christmas Eve walk through the Abbey. As they explored the ruins, the father heard faint music and assumed it was coming from a nearby caroller. But as the family walked deeper into the Abbey, the melody grew louder and more distinct, clearly emanating from within the walls. When they reached the courtyard, the music stopped, leaving them in an eerie silence broken only by the crunch of frost beneath their feet. Paranormal investigators have attempted to capture the phenomenon, setting up audio equipment in the Abbey on Christmas Eve. While no visual evidence of Seamus's spirit has been recorded, several audio recordings contain faint, unexplainable piping sounds. Skeptics argue that the acoustics of the Abbey and natural sounds could create the illusion of music, but believers insist it is Seamus, continuing his Christmas tradition even in death. Muckross Abbey remains a popular destination for tourists, hikers, and history enthusiasts, especially during the holidays. The Abbey's haunting beauty and the legend of the ghostly piper draw those seeking a touch of mystery and magic during Christmas time. Some come hoping to hear Seamus's music, while others simply want to bask in the serene, otherworldly atmosphere of the Abbey. For locals, the ghostly piper is more than a legend. It's a symbol of sacrifice, resilience, and the enduring power of music to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. As the frosty air settles over Muckross Abbey each Christmas Eve, those who listen carefully might just hear the soft, mournful strains of Seamus's pipes, a reminder that some melodies linger far beyond their final note. The Haunted Feast of Charleville Forest. In the heart of County Oaley lies Charleville Forest, a sprawling estate surrounding an imposing Gothic Revival castle. Built in the early 19th century, the castle is renowned for its dark beauty and its reputation as one of the most haunted places in Ireland. While tales of spectral children and eerie whispers have circulated for years, one ghostly tradition stands out: the Haunted Christmas Feast. The legend of the Haunted Feast dates back to the mid-1800s when the Berry family, who owned Charleville Castle, hosted an extravagant Christmas celebration. The grand dining hall was adorned with holly and mistletoe, a roaring fire illuminated the intricate woodwork, and a banquet of roasted meats and festive desserts awaited the dozens of guests. That year, a bitter dispute erupted between Lord Berry and a distant cousin Edward over an inheritance. Edward, known for his fiery temper, stormed into the castle on Christmas Eve determined to confront Lord Berry. The two argued loudly, their voices carrying through the halls, until Edward, in a fit of rage, challenged Lord Berry to a duel. Duelling had been outlawed, but honour dictated that Lord Berry accept. The men stepped outside into the icy courtyard, pistols in hand. As the clock struck midnight, a single shot echoed through the frosty air. Edward fell, mortally wounded, staining the snow crimson. The feast was cancelled, and the guests departed in stunned silence. The castle, once filled with warmth and laughter, grew cold and sombre. From that Christmas Eve onward, strange events began to plague Charleville Forest during the festive season. Starr reported hearing the sounds of a ghostly banquet, clinking glasses, mulled laughter, and the scrape of knives on plates, emanating from the empty dining hall. Others claimed to see shadowy figures seated at the long dining table, their faces obscured but their voices clear as they toasted to an unseen host. One chilling account comes from a caretaker in the 1950s who stayed at the castle over Christmas to ensure it remained secure. On Christmas Eve, he was startled awake by the sound of music and conversation echoing through the halls. Grabbing a lantern, he made his way to the dining room, where he found the long-abandoned table fully set with fine china and silverware, as if a feast were about to begin. He turned to leave, and in the flickering lantern light, he saw a shadowy figure standing by the window. The caretaker fled and refused to return. In the 1990s, a group of paranormal investigators spent Christmas Eve at Charleville Castle, hoping to document the ghostly activity. As midnight approached, they set up cameras and audio equipment in the dining hall. The recordings captured faint sounds of clinking glasses and footsteps, though no one was in the room. One investigator claimed to feel a sudden chill, as if someone had brushed past her, and others reported seeing flickering lights in the courtyard where the fatal duel had taken place. Locals believe the haunted feast is a reenactment of the tragic events of that fateful Christmas Eve, with the restless spirit of Edward seeking resolution. Some speculate that the shadowy figures at the table are the guests who witnessed the duel, forever reliving the tension and sorrow of that night. Others claim Lord Berry himself haunts the dining hall, burdened by guilt over his role in Edward's death. Charleville Forest remains a popular destination for those intrigued by its beauty and its ghostly tales. During the holidays, visitors often gather near the castle, sharing stories of the haunted feast and leaving wreaths by the gates as a mark of respect for the restless spirits. While the castle no longer hosts Christmas banquets, the echoes of that tragic night persist, a reminder of the fragility of peace and joy. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Charleville Forest's haunted feast offers a chilling glimpse into Ireland's darker Christmas traditions. The sounds of merriment may echo through its halls, but beneath the festive facade lies a story of betrayal, tragedy, and the lingering spectres of Christmases past. The Frozen Bride of Annaghmore. Annaghmore House, a stately manor in County Roscommon, sits amid frost-covered fields and ancient oak trees. Known for its elegant architecture and historic charm, the house has long been the subject of local lore. Among the tales whispered during the long winter nights is that of the Frozen Bride, a ghostly figure who appears each Christmas Eve, forever bound to the icy tragedy of her wedding day. The story dates back to the early 19th century, when Annaghmore House was home to the O'Reilly family. The youngest daughter, Eleanor O'Reilly, was known for her beauty and her love of the Christmas season. She often spoke of her dream wedding, imagining herself as a bride surrounded by holly-decked halls and the warm glow of candlelight. In 1823, her dream came true. Eleanor was to marry a wealthy suitor, Thomas Langley, on Christmas Eve, a grand celebration planned to mark the occasion. As the wedding day approached, a heavy snowfall blanketed Roscommon. Despite the bitter cold, guests arrived at Annaghmore House, their carriages crunching through the icy roads. The ceremony was perfect, Eleanor radiant in her white gown as she exchanged vows with Thomas in the manor's great hall. But as the festivities continued into the night, tragedy struck. After the wedding feast, Eleanor and Thomas decided to take a sleigh ride around the estate to celebrate their union. Wrapped in heavy cloaks, they set out into the snowy landscape, the bells of the sleigh jingling merrily. Hours passed, and the guests began to grow concerned. A search party was formed, and their worst fears were confirmed. The sleigh had overturned on a narrow path near the frozen lake, and Eleanor had been thrown into the icy water. Though Thomas survived, Eleanor's body was pulled from the lake, her wedding gown frozen staw. Annaghmore House was plunged into mourning. Thomas, consumed by grief, left the estate, never to return. The O'Reilly family never celebrated Christmas again, and Eleanor's tragic death became the stew of legend. In the years following her death, locals began to report sightings of a spectral figure wandering the estate on Christmas Eve. Dressed in a tattered wedding gown, the frozen bride is said to appear near the lake where she met her untimely end. Her pale, translucent figure glides silently across the snow, her face veiled but her sorrow palpable. Some say she clutches a single holly branch, a reminder of the festive joy stolen from her. One chilling encounter occurred in the 1940s when a groundskeeper patrolling the estate on Christmas Eve spotted a woman standing by the frozen lake. Thinking she was a lost guest, he approached, calling out to her. As he drew closer, the figure turned and he saw her face, pale as death, her eyes filled with tears that froze before they fell. She vanished into the mist, leaving behind only a faint set of footprints in the snow. In recent years, visitors to Annaghmore House have shared similar stories. A photographer capturing the estate's wintry beauty claimed to see a shadowy figure reflected in the icy lake, though no one was there when he turned around. Paranormal investigators have recorded sudden drops in temperature near the lake and faint sobbing sounds on Christmas Eve. Locals believe the frozen bride's spirit is trapped in a loop, endlessly reliving the happiest and most tragic moments of her life. Some say her presence is a warning against taking the joys of the season for granted, while others view her as a symbol of love's enduring strength, even in death. Despite its tragic legend, Annaghmore House continues to draw visitors, especially during the holiday season. Those who brave the cold on Christmas Eve often leave candles or wreaths near the lake in Eleanor's memory, hoping to owe her spirit a measure of peace. Whether the frozen bride is a real ghost or a figment of collective imagination, her story remains a poignant reminder of the fragility of happiness and the lingering echoes of Christmases long past. The Christmas Lantern of Hook Head Lighthouse. At the tip of the Hook Peninsula in County Wexford stands Hook Head Lighthouse, one of the oldest operational lighthouses in the world. For over 800 years, its steadfast beam has guided sailors safely through treacherous waters. But during the Christmas season, locals whisper of a dirent light, a ghostly lantern carried by a long-departed keeper whose spirit returns every Christmas Eve to protect those at sea. The legend begins in the early 19th century with a lighthouse keeper named Samuel O'Donnell. Dedicated and compassionate, Samuel was well respected by the tight-knit community. On a stormy Christmas Eve, a violent tempest battered the coast. The winds howled and waves lashed against the rocks with ferocity unseen in decades. A merchant ship, the Star of Munster, struggled against the storm, its crew desperate to find safe harbour. As the storm intensified, a massive wave struck the lighthouse, extinguishing its vital light. Realizing the peril this posed to any ship nearby, Samuel sprang into action. He grabbed a lantern and braved the raging storm, descending the perilous steps carved into the cliffside to reach a promontory closer to the sea. There, he waved the lantern tirelessly, hoping to warn the ship of the deadly rocks ahead. Witnesses from the village watched in awe as Samuel's solitary light flickered against the darkness. Tragically, a sudden gust of wind swept him with a cly, and he disappeared into the churning sea below. The Star of Munster, however, saw the beacon and altered its course just in time, narrowly avoiding disaster. The crew survived, but Samuel was lost to the depths. In the years following his death, stories emerged of a mysterious light appearing along the Clydes every Christmas Eve. Fishermen at sea reported seeing a lone lantern swaying in the darkness, guiding them away from hidden dangers. Villagers began to accept this phenomenon as Samuel's spirit continuing his duty, ensuring the safety of those navigating the treacherous waters. One of the most compelling accounts came from a sailor named Patrick Flynn in the early 1900s. Caught in an unexpected squall on Christmas Eve, his small fishing boat was being pushed dangerously close to the rocks near Hook Head. Just as hope seemed lost, Patrick spotted a faint light bobbing along the shoreline. Interpreting it as a signal, he adjusted his course and managed to steer clear of the rocky outcrops. When he returned to the village and shared his experience, the elders nodded knowingly, convinced that Samuel had intervened once again. Visitors to Hook Head Lighthouse during the holiday season often speak of unexplained occurrences. Some describe seeing a dim light moving against the wind along the Clyde's edge, while others report hearing faint echoes of a man's voice carried by the sea breeze, whispering warnings or calling out indistinctly. Photographers attempting to capture the lighthouse at night sometimes find orbs or streaks of light in their images that weren't visible to the naked eye. Paranormal investigators have taken an interest in the lighthouse's Yuletide lore. On one investigation, a team set up infrared cameras and audio recorders on the KLIs. Review of the footage revealed unexplained lights moving horizontally across perilous areas inaccessible to humans. Audio equipment picked up faint sounds resembling footsteps crunching on gravel and a distant voice murmuring, though the words were unclear. Skeptics suggest these sightings could be attributed to atmospheric conditions, reflections of the lighthouse beam, or the misidentification of stars and planets near the horizon. However, those who have witnessed the Christmas lantern firsthand are convinced of its otherworldly origin. The community embraces the legend of Samuel O'Donnell as a symbol of selflessness and enduring dedication. Each Christmas Eve, locals gather at the lighthouse to light candles and lanterns in his memory, singing carols that blend joyous celebration with solemn remembrance. The event has become a cherished tradition, attracting visitors who are drawn to the poignant story and the breathtaking beauty of the windswept coast. Hook Head Lighthouse remains fully operational, its beam as reliable as ever. Yet the tale of the Christmas lantern adds an extra layer of mystique to the historic structure. For many, the idea that a guardian spirit watches over the waters is a comforting thought during the darkest nights of winter. Whether the legend is a manifestation of collective memory or a genuine haunting is a matter of personal belief. But on stormy Christmas Eves, when the wind whistles through the crags and the sea roars below, some say you can still see a solitary light moving along the cliffs, a silent testament to a keeper's eternal vigil and the lives saved by his final act of courage. The festive season is a time for reflection, warmth, and remembrance, but these tales remind us that not all memories bring comfort. Ireland's Christmas ghost stories carry echoes of love, loss, and tragedy, a haunting counterpoint to the joy of the holidays. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, these chilling legends add a touch of the mysterious to the magic of Christmas. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey through Ireland's haunted past. Until next time, may your holidays be merry, bright, and ghost-free.